Howdy, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I have Alexander on the phone. Hi, Skitty Nona. I'm going to get something else set up. See if any of the other players can join, but this is a session 0. Session 0 when playing a role-playing game is just setting up the background, letting everyone know how we're going to play the game, answer any questions. And also, if anyone is interested, we still have a space or two open. I need to turn off Discord, as someone reminded me before. Okay. Bear with me for a little bit. All right, and we're live. So, how are you doing, Skitty? So let me. I'm going to bring up a copy of the screen. So this is an example of the DnD map. So Skitty, I don't know if you saw the Dungeons and Degenerates stream, but this is the same application they were playing on. I'll put the background in a dark setting, but I can add a character sheet for someone. If anyone joins. Go over it that way. So one of the things I want to do is, we just have Alexander right now, talk about, maybe the starting time. I'm thinking of starting a little later, but I'm going to see if anyone else joins. There may not be enough people who are interested in looking at it tonight. So I'm going to give everything about 10 more minutes. And then if there's no one on, I'll coordinate offline, see if I can get some more interest in the next week or two to make sure everyone's in line. I know one of the players has some personal issues right now, so they might be delayed in being able to start. Another person is really interested, but may not have seen my last update, which I sent out this morning. So I don't know, Alex, if you want to do any Q&A, but when did you first start playing Dungeons and Dragons?
It's only been a couple of years, probably 2019, 2018, somewhere in that time frame. So not a significant long period of time. Like I know we've got some people that have been playing since the 80s. So yeah, quite a bit of a difference there. I'm sure.
Yeah, I got back into it in early 2020. I got my son this, what was it, the Stranger Things starter set. Figured he liked the show and I could play D&D with my son, and then realized the rules are not quite what I remember. So when you started, was it the 5th edition or was it an earlier one?
Yeah, I played exclusively 5th edition on tabletop. Played, Pathfinder computer games, that use that rule set, but only 5e for tabletop so far.
Okay. So if anyone's watching the replay, thank you. If you're interested, please shoot me a line. One of the things I want to make sure everyone knows is, let's see if I can show it. We're going to do Waterdeep DragonHeist. So this is an entry-level adventure. It's set in a city in the world of Faerun. And what's interesting about it, and I saw it through some other streams I was watching a few years ago, is if anyone watches Critical Role, I don't know if you've ever seen that, Alex, but the voice actors are playing. Matthew Mercer is the dungeon master. He was actually a consultant for this game. And so on one of the pages of the guide, and if I can find the graphic, I'll put it on screen at some point when we're playing. His picture is in the tavern. So he's actually in a D&D setting as himself, which I thought was pretty interesting.
That is pretty interesting. I mean, yeah, I think Critical Role has probably done more for advertising D&D than anything else has happened in the last decade.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, they had highest income of any Twitch stream in history last year.
Yeah, I saw that number. That was crazy, but that explains why they branched out on their own and have been doing the merchandising too. And now they're on Prime, and I think they've already got their second TV series picked up already. So they've got a second one coming out soon. Yeah, back when the lockdown started, I discovered them, and I think I watched all of campaign 1 and then caught up on campaign 2 in about 6 months, which is pretty crazy. 3 episodes a day, just kind of listening in the background while I was working or watching it at night.
That's a full day's commitment right there.
Yeah, nothing else to do, right? Okay. Let's see. So why did I do this? Since somebody may be joining on the replay, I'm going to just go through a sample of creating a character. Roll 20 if someone only has one screen or only wants to interact at a very with just one application. This is one method. Another method is to use something called DnD Beyond, which I'll share with everyone playing. But D&D Beyond is now owned by the people who did Dungeons and Dragons. It's a different application, and all of the source rules are here for people who want to buy them, basically buy the rights to use it. I've got the rights to almost all of these source guides. So if there is a character type you hear about, a character class that's in one of these extra source books, I have it available, and you can use D&D Beyond to create your character. And there's a method to actually link the two together so you can go into this application, which is D&D Beyond. And when you use your character, all of the activity shows up in the Roll20 application, which is what we're using to play. So I'll be able to provide that. Hey, Skull, how you doing? And Skull, I do have room for 1 or 2 more people. This is a session 0 where I'm explaining, to the players, what's going on, how we're going to play, if there's any questions. I think one thing, especially people with busy schedules, I might be out of town, in which case as the DM I can't host. But if someone's out of town and they're willing to let either me or one of the other players run their character, we can do it that way, or we can pause the game for that one session. But it could take a few months, several months to play this one campaign, and it'll be a lot of fun. It's starting out very early entry-level characters, so there's no need to really know what's going on. From a gaming standpoint, as the dungeon master, I'll explain everything. And players who have played before, I know there's one other person who's interested who's played before, will help out as well. So what I'm doing is I'm sharing my Roll20 screen and showing how to create a character. So there is something called a Charactermancer. And it's just a wizard, like if you were creating an account on a new application or registering an account, it'll step you one by one through the steps and explain what's going on and let you make decisions. And anyone who wants to do this offline and not stream it, I'll walk you through the whole process, get your character created with you, just one-on-one, no streaming, so that you're comfortable setting up your character and answer all your questions. And then when we're ready to play, you'll be able to jump in and we'll all be able to help each other get started. So The first thing you do is you choose a character race. So in a lot of fantasy, you hear about elves and dwarves and humans. And each of those races has different characteristics. Like, for example, they can see in the dark. If you're an archer and you can't see in the dark and you're in a very dark cave, that's not a very good place to be. So because I have a lot of the extra add-ons, there's a lot of different options here. And I'll work with everyone on that. So Alex, is there a favorite character race that you'd like to play?
Normally it's high elf, but I think I'm going to go for a variant elf for this one. I've got a particular thing in mind I'd like to try that needs a little bit of adjustment to the stats.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I've been playing at the Tabaxi lately. I've played too many campaigns as someone without dark vision and been stuck in the cave in the dark, and everyone's like, "Shh, we're going to be quiet and not turn on any lights." So it hasn't helped. But let me just select that. So one of the things that happens in this game is if you pick something, it'll give you a little helper screen. So you'll learn about what a tabaxi is. Tabaxi are more like cats. They've got claws. They can climb vertically up surfaces at almost the normal speed as if they were walking. And they have a few other characteristics. But it'll give a lot of the background. And if you scroll down, it's down, it'll give you some more background. But maybe it's at the top. Here. Too many wheels. Oh, there it is. But it'll give you some special traits. And so there are 6 traits that every character has. Strength, dexterity, what are they? Constitution, which is like your health. Wisdom, which is like, how maybe street smart you are, how observant you are. Intelligence, which is more of like a book smart, how well learned you are. And then charisma is, how do people perceive you? Are you easygoing and people feel comfortable around you, or do people kind of shy away from you? So the higher your score, the better it is. The lower the score, the worse off you are. An average is about a 9 or 10, and you have, no extra benefit from that. But if you go higher, you actually get extra benefit for certain things. Like if you have a really high strength, you can maybe push open a door easier. Maybe you're more accurate firing a ranged weapon like a bow if you have a higher dexterity. But this is kind of a class most people wouldn't even think about. So I'm going to pick something else. Let me pick let me try a dwarf. And so when you pick the character, not only do you get the background, but over on the left-hand side, they'll tell you what what benefits you get. This type of character gets a +2 Constitution. Alignment is like good or evil. In most games, you're not allowed to play evil unless the DM allows it. I'm not going to. There's no need for us to do that, and I'm not going to focus too much on this. Neutral good is generally a good one to pick, because then chaotic is like, you're not very kind of make random decisions. Lawful, you're more straightforward, by the book type of person. So neutral is kind of in the middle. I'm going to just kind of go a little quickly through it. Since I did this in an earlier one, I'm not going to spend too much time. I have an earlier live stream. There are certain types of dwarfs, like I can pick a mountain dwarf. And this is a sub race, and it'll give you something extra. In this case, it gives me an extra +2 on my strength. So I got +2 in my health, +2 in my strength, and they can wear different types of armor. The next one is your class, which is like your profession. Some people are fighters or wizards, and there are different other types underneath. Going to be a little different. Actually, no, I'll pick fighter. And do you have a favorite class, Alex?
At the moment, really enjoying Clockwork Soul Sorcerers. So a little bit of a different mix there for how they normally work.
So yeah, I mean, I really like the different variety that you have with all the different characters. Hi, Daniel. How are you? I've lately been doing the fighter class. Also, I do warlock. Warlock is an interesting class because you get certain spell weaponry that you can cast, kind of like in Harry Potter, where you can just keep casting something called an Eldritch Blast and keep casting it. And some types of spells, you use up your what's called a spell slot. So for those of you who want to do a magic type character, you have to be aware of some types of spells. Actually, you can only cast a certain number before you take a rest. And you can take short rest, like an hour long in between strenuous activity, or a long rest, which is basically, you go down for the night. There are different skill proficiencies. I went over this in an earlier one, so I'm going to not spend too much time. Fighting style, I think last time I picked archery maybe, but I'm going to pick something called great weapon fighting. So this is an interesting one. A great weapon fighting is where you have two-handed weapons and you've got benefit when using a two-handed weapon. Go to the abilities. For the ability scores, because you used to roll dice, you'd roll 3 6-sided dice. Sometimes they get really low. So there's multiple ways of picking this. What I give all of the players, if they want to do a one-on-one, is do a roll for stats, which is it will roll 4 6-sided die and drop the lowest one. And if for some reason you have a very below average skill set, I'll let you pick one of the others, like a standard array. And in this one, you basically have the numbers 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And you decide where you want to place those as far as your 6 different ability scores. And then the other option is a point buy, where it's a certain number of points for each one, and you can mix and match, and that way you can get some really high ones, some really low ones. But in general, everyone is fairly well balanced using these. I think last time I did the standard array, so I'm going to do the point buy and try to pick some decent ones. And so it tells me right here how many points I have available to use. Still have more. How could that be? Higher one. Okay, so 0. So one of the things that happens when you're playing is something called perception. And wisdom is the skill that gives you that. And if you have a 12, you get actually a +1 benefit to anything that uses wisdom. So I'm going to pick that to be a little higher. And as a fighter, I want my strength and dexterity to be relatively high, and my constitution. And next. And background is everyone gets to pick their backstory. What is it that this adventure your character had in their background that led them to this point, whether they're a soldier or gladiator. There's all sorts of pirate. There's a lot of different items here. I'm going to pick an urchin. So basically a kid who grew up on the streets, which if you are playing in any type of city environment like we're going to be doing, we'll play in the city of Waterdeep. If you're an urchin, you get certain benefits as that urchin. So certain skill proficiency. So you can pickpocket, that's what sleight of hand is, or you can hide in the shadows, which is stealth. And then some other abilities, which are little or features like city secrets. Because you grew up, you know how to get from place to place. So I'm going to pick that. And I'll just pick a few more. Actually, I'm going to skip those. These personality traits, you can pick your own, or you can pick some random ones. But these are basically just to help with the role-playing aspect of your character. Because sometimes you want to play a flawed character. Those flaws actually help out with deciding how your character is going to act in certain situations. Equipment. It's usually better to just pick the class equipment, so you get to based on your type of character, pick like the type of armor you get, the type of weapons you get. So I'm going to pick a few different ones appropriate to this type of character. And I did an earlier stream where I talked about these. I'm gonna. So I don't have any spells at this level. If I were playing a warlock or sorcerer, I would definitely have a few spells to pick from. I think that is all. Everything else is for later. You can also put your personal stats. I'm not going to do anything right now, but you can basically build your character up in any way you want. And then you review all of your characteristics. And it just picked a random name for me. I didn't pick that. But it did add my bonuses. So my constitution went up by 2 and my strength went up by 2 because I'm the type of dwarf that I am. And I'm going to apply those changes. And then when playing the game, in order to roll dice, I don't know if Jason's stream had this, but if you need to roll an attack, there's a weapon. If you just click the name of a weapon, it rolls it. So it'll roll it over here. If you have to make an ability or like a saving throw, I think they might have run some saving throws. So my strength is pretty high because I have some other benefits. But if you click it, it rolls the dice. And something they mentioned in the game they played last week is it'll roll the dice twice. If you don't have any what's called advantage or disadvantage in your roll, you just pick the very first one you see, which could be the lowest one. In this case, it's the second one's the lowest. But if you have what's called advantage, you take the highest number. If you have what's called disadvantage, you take the lowest. Disadvantage could be you're poisoned or someone's cast a spell on you, or also you could have advantage for other reasons, and so that'll give you those skill sets, or sort of those benefits. But anyway, that's how to do the character sheet. Anyone joining late and you're willing, you want to play with on a regular basis, I'll publish what time we think we're going to start after I get some feedback from the rest of the group. But if we decide to delay it a little bit, just because I know Rico, a lot of people watch Rico, they might want to start a little later, but it'll still put us over in the other people's streams. The plan I have is to play about 2 hours, maybe a little longer, and go from there. If you can see this map, these are what the characters look like. They're called tokens. I'll help people create their tokens, but they move around. I created one because what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this character. I called the character, I'll show the character sheet here. I called the character sheet camera. And so as the dungeon master, I see everything. I can see around walls, through doors. So I'm going to have 2 sessions set up when we play. One will be something that would be very neutral. And what I'll do is I'll use my camera character to move around. So anyone on the live stream will see what camera sees. And that way there's no spoilers. If the team is somewhere and half of them are around the corner, I can move camera around the corner, let everyone on the stream see what's around the corner. And then the person who's playing, the one who can't see, hopefully will not see it. But if so, it's not a big deal. But if I showed my screen, you would see the entire map and where all the monsters are and all the treasure and everything else. So I'll have this little pixie called camera flying around a little bit like Tinkerbell. So this is an interesting app. It's called Roll20. I know a few people have also been trying to go into Foundry VTT. I don't know. Have you tried anything else, Alex, besides Roll20?
No, just Roll20 for any virtual games I've played. So I'm not familiar with the other one, unfortunately.
Okay. So I started a little bit, but in order to use some of these other applications, you've got to host them yourselves, meaning you set up a server in the cloud or you open a port into your own network. But Foundry VTT is one of those. It's actually got a lot of other benefits, a little more complicated to use, but I may try to do that some other time. And if anybody out there is not really interested in fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons, there's other role-playing games out there. So there's sci-fi and fantasy. I did a Kickstarter a couple years ago for the Stargate SG-1. I've never played it, but you can play that on Roll20. And then I recently, I think it completed in the fall last year, Blade Runner. So there's a Blade Runner RPG. I haven't played that either. And then I also have one for The Expanse. But the rule sets are very different for all of those. But if anyone's interested in playing any of those, I'm definitely up to hosting as well. Okay. So I don't know, is there anyone online who's interested in joining the group and playing the campaign? I can tell you what, I'm going to copy the link. So if anyone wants to join the panel, I'll share the link. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'll call the stream in about 5 minutes. For anyone who joined late, anyone on the replay, this is our session 0. It is where we discuss what we want to do next, and I know a few people have had other things going on, but I'll talk to everyone offline. If we start a little later, if that helps, then we can do that. And then let's see what else we can try. So we have Vibes, Core Works, Multi-Tank Syndrome. No, I haven't played Hero Quest. Horo, so you like the Warlock and Sorcerer. Yeah, I like doing multi-classes, especially with Warlock. So Alex, do you do any multi-classing when you play?
Yeah, the Order Cleric is a really good match for the Clockwork Soul Sorcerers, kind of the direction I think I'll go with this character if it works out that way. Yeah, really fun combination there.
Yeah.
A couple other really crazy ones that I've seen just fall on their face as well. Wild Magic Sorcerer and a Warlock, and just to blow yourself up a few times out of the chaotic magic that comes out of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so normally at one point I was doing Warlock a lot, and then Fighter or Rogue. I like the Rogue in that you get the sneak attack bonuses, and that helps a lot. And I've been in campaigns where half the people were some level of Warlock because they wanted that Eldritch Blast.
Can definitely be overpowered, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay. Hey, Silver Creek. Silver Creek, I know this is last minute. Are you interested in joining the campaign? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but I've been asking every few minutes. But anyone who is interested, if you're watching the replay, I'm on Discord in the FishTube channel. There's actually a Dungeons and Dragons channel on the FishTube Discord. Just check it out, and if you're interested, do that. If you're watching the Dungeons and Degenerates and say, hey, I want to do this too, I think they're playing tomorrow night on the Mr. Manifesto channel, then also check there too. And if you chat during the session, they might send you a link as well. Anyway, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Alex, for joining. I'll chat with you right after the stream. I'm going to turn off the broadcast now, but thank you, everyone, for joining. And we'll chat later. Bye, everyone.